8th Governorship Debate 2022. Moderating, Sheun Okimbaloye.
And welcome to the Ekiti State Governorship Debate 2022, organized by Channels Television and its partners, the Civil Society Situation Room. We're live in Ekiti, the capital of Ekiti State. Tonight, 6 candidates selected through an impartial and transparent survey will be talking to millions of people on their agenda and how they hope to achieve them. It is barely a week to the governorship election in Ekiti State, but before then, a debate is necessary to promote civil discourse and provide a platform for these candidates to articulate their positions on public policy, as well as intimating the public on their style of leadership and problem-solving abilities. This debate is a simulcast, running on many platforms across the globe. The local television and radio stations here in Ekiti State are also broadcasting this program live in Yoruba language. There are set rules and guidelines for this debate. The candidates are aware and have agreed to those guidelines. This 2-hour debate is divided into different segments: governance, security, social development, infrastructure, the economy. But before we get into the full swing of and in the mood of this debate, let's listen to a message from our partners. Now we have the convener of the Situation Room, Ms. Anna Obi.
Good evening, very distinguished aspirants, civil society organizations, at the team from Channels, very distinguished party members, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to this debate, and indeed, in the land of Ekiti people. You know, it's a really special pleasure. This election, we're here because it's very, very important to Nigeria. We believe that if it goes well in Ekiti, if we improve on the other elections that are coming, it will be a sign going forward into the 2023 election. So we appeal to the Ekiti people to make this election a very good example. This evening, the candidates will attempt to let you know who they really are, and also to come out telling you what they want to do. We hope that you will look at them and vote with your conscience, look at the candidates, and also let it be a very peaceful discussion and non-violent election. The world will come to you. This is a beautiful land, and I hope that you receive the visitors that will come and make it an example for other places that we are going to go. So welcome to the debate, Nigerians, and we are happy to partner. We are very grateful to the Foreign Commonwealth Development Office for supporting us with the funding for this program. And Channels, a very big thank you, and let's have a good evening. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Anna, for those words there. Let me state at this point that none of these candidates tonight or their party members have seen any of the questions we're asking them. The audience here in this auditorium have agreed to remain silent. No cheering, no jeering. That way, this debate will achieve its purpose. But the exception of that rule is now, as I introduce the candidates in alphabetical order, using their political party acronym. We begin with the candidate of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, Mr. Oluwole Oluyede. Thank you. And the candidate of the Action Democratic Party, the ADP, Mrs. Kemi Elebute-Hale. She's not here. We'll continue. All right. And the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Mr. Biodun Oyebanji. The candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Bisi Kolawole. The candidate of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, Engineer Shegun. And the candidate of the Young Progressives Party, YPP, Mr. Ranti Ajayi. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming. We understand that some of them are being kept, APC and ADP. For some reasons, they are held up somewhere, but we're keeping to time. We will continue. The people of Ekiti State are waiting, and they cannot wait any longer. It's 7 p.m., and so we shall keep to time. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on the podium tonight. Well, it's moment for us all in this auditorium to rise for the Nigerian national anthem. Thank you very much, everyone. Let me inform you that this debate is streamed on all our social media platforms. We are online, and you can watch on Facebook, on YouTube, and all of the platforms that you can lay your hands on. You can join the conversation on social media using the hashtag Ekiti Debate. It's a moment when we begin, and tonight we begin with the opening statements of the candidate, and the order in which we will start is by the acronym of the political party, just as you entered into the stage. This opening statement, you take the benefit of those who are absent, so we take their time. Instead of 1 minute 30 seconds, we do 2 minutes. All right. We begin with your opening statement about who you are, why you are running for office. Let the people know you. I begin with the ADC candidate. Your time starts now.
Thank you. My name is Wole Oluyede. I am a medical doctor. I have other interests in business, particularly in hotels and agriculture. I have been a doctor for about 38 years now. Presently, my main practice is in Australia. I have been involved in the politics of Ekiti for quite a while. The last time I did run the primaries in the APC, I lost in the primaries, but I've always been involved. Why do I want to run? I am an Ekiti-born person. I was born in Ado Ekiti, grew up in Ado Ekiti, but I'm from Ikere Ekiti. I have business interests in Ekiti. I am a bona fide person in Ekiti. But I'm worried that the economy of Ekiti is not really going the way it should go. People are complaining. The health sector is not well. There is no productive economy. Some salaries are owed. Pensioners haven't been paid. We're not catching up with our educational programs. There's problems with security. All of those things need to be addressed. And in particular, we have to improve our economy, and we have to draw investors to Ekiti. That is a personal interest of mine, because if we don't do that, we are not really going to change what we've been doing for almost 30 years, being dependent on the federal allocation. I would particularly want to change that. And we need to change the mindset of Ekiti people that salaries does not make you wealthy. If we want to be wealthy, we have to be entrepreneurs, we have to be businessmen. And that includes being a farmer that can be productive and see himself as a business person rather than somebody who just practice subsistence agriculture. Our health is not catching up with the world, despite the fact that we have talent, we have good doctors, we have good nurses, we have good planners in Ekiti. We need to set all of those things right, and that's where my interest is. And that's why I want to be the governor of Ekiti State. Thank you.
Thank you so much for keeping to the time. Mr. Bisi Kolawole, candidate of the PDP. Your opening statement.
Good evening, good people of Ekiti State. My name is Otumba Bisi Kolawole, a former supervisory councillor in the council, a former legislator in the state, a former commissioner in the state, a former party chairman in Ekiti State, and a former member of the BOT, the People's Democratic Party. And we are coming with a 6-point agenda for the good people of Ekiti State. Participatory governance, security of lives and properties, which is the most important of all. If we are not able to secure lives, the agricultural sector that we are banking on to boost our economy and employment in Ekiti may not work out. The infrastructural development that we are embarking on is also it also depends on the situation of security in Ekiti and provision of social services and sustainable environment. Those are the 6 key agendas we are coming with. And the agricultural sector is going to play a key role because employment will be created, economy will boost the economy with it, but I'm emphasizing on improving on the terrible security situation in the Ekiti State, which may debar or deter or discourage people from coming to Ekiti to invest. Because we want to encourage people to come and invest in Igbema rice, and we become exporters of rice. We will involve experts.
Your time is up, Mr. Kalawale. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Mr. Shagoni of the SDP, your time is now. Your opening statement.
Thank you very much. Good evening, compatriots. I'm Olusegun Oni. I was governor here before, between 2007 and 2010, during which time I served the state with everything that I had, my intellect, my experience, everything, and the results were very good. During this time, the Human Development Index rating of Ekiti was number 10. You would not believe it. A state whose allocation ranges between number 34 and number 36. We were rated number 10 overall Human Development Index, and at that time, we had the highest life expectancy in Nigeria, in spite of the fact that we were not probably some of the high-falutin hospitals. I believe we can move Ekiti much further than it is, and that's why I'm here. My agenda first, security is a big concern now. It has always been there, but now it is taking everybody like storm. Education, I will continue where I left, and human capital development. Health, we brought one of the best hospitals in Africa for eye care. It's been run down. We'll take Ekiti back to this standard. And of course, we will do a lot for the youth, sports development programs that we have and that you know.
Thank you so much. Your time is up. And now it's the time of the YPP. Mr. Ronti, your time.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Debo Ronti Ajayi from Ekiti. I was the Pioneer Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning in Ekiti. And I was also Commissioner for Trade, Investments and Innovation. I have served Ekiti for 30 months altogether, And in 12 of those months, I personally developed the budget system of Ekiti from scratch. The system, the processes, the manpower, without using external consultants. And that system is still what is being operated in Ekiti today, over 10 years later. When I was also Commissioner for Trade, Investment and Innovation, I established Ekiti Knowledge Zone in order to be able to promote knowledge assets that Ekiti is known for. I was also the one that revived the airport because it was, I considered it a key infrastructure for economic development. Professionally, I'm an actuary. I have the highest possible credential that any actuary could have in the world. I'm a fellow of the American Society of Actuaries. I'm a fellow of the Canadian Institute of Actuaries. I'm a member of the American Academy of Actuaries. As far back as 2001, I was supervising over 33 countries, spanning Middle East, Africa, South Asia, between 2001 and 2007. I was the global corporate actuary for the largest life insurance company in the world. I was also managing director in the largest private actuarial firm in the world before I resigned to serve in Ekiti. My priority is to revive agriculture, to make our education become more functional, to build necessary collaborations to move Ekiti forward, knowing that the resources to build Ekiti are not all in Ekiti. To have a purpose-driven infrastructure, and to also diversify our economy from over-reliance on Abuja. I would also make sure that we exploit all the opportunities in our tourism department and make sure there's healthcare.
Mr. Ajayi, thank you so much. We're going to the next segment. And this segment is about the fitness for office. There are a few things that the people of Ekiti State are worried or bothered and are asking questions about. And this will touch on whether or not you're fit to be a governor in this state. And some of those ones might be uncomfortable, some of these questions. I'll begin with you, Mr. The ADC candidate, Mr. Wole Oluyede. I'd like to ask you, you contested in 2018 in the APC primary alongside the likes of Governor Fayemi and some others. You left the APC for the ADC, and you got a ticket. Well, your critics say you're not one of those who can stay afloat in a highly competitive political party or environment. You prefer platforms where you have less competitions. And I'd like to ask you, how would you react to this kind of comments?
My question is,
sorry, you have just a minute to respond.
What's the competition in APC? I was one of those people who sustained APC for a while. The field was not level. It was not a fair thing. Why were there 7 people who were angry after the elections? Where was the election held? It's the most corrupt setup that anybody could have. If I was afraid of them, why did I leave and I'm challenging them now? And I'm running them around now. I'm not afraid of them. That's why I left, and that's why I'm fighting them from outside. But from within, they have not constituted a level playing field. They have never been fair. They have always been corrupt. And I cannot stand amongst people who are corrupt, who do not have principles. And that's why I left. So it's not a matter of being afraid. If I'm afraid, do you know what I would have done? Run with my tail between my legs. But I stood up, and I'm fighting them, and I'm giving the people the choice to choose.
All right, thank you so much. Let me come to the candidate of the PDP, Mr. Bisi Kalawale. You have been labeled as a stooge of former Governor Fayose. In most of your campaign tours, the former governor was doing most of the talking, assuring different group of at such gatherings that Bisi Kalawale is someone he can call to order if reported to him for not fulfilling promises made. Well, your critics are already talking. They've compared you to the candidate of the APC, who has been running his campaigns without the presence of Governor Fayemi. But the accusation or the fear is that you don't have a mind of your own as a politician.
Thank you very much. That's a familiar question. I've encountered it severally. I don't have any regret being endorsed by Governor Ayodele Fayose. I reeled out my credentials have been issued. I've been the only candidate that has worked with 4 governors in Ekiti State. I was a supervisory councillor in the council years back when Governor Niyi Adebayo was the governor. I was in the House of Assembly when my brother Olusegun Oni was the governor. When he left, Governor Fayemi came in. I had 6 months with Governor Fayemi, and Governor Ayodele Fayose appointed me as the Commissioner for Environment. He must have considered my antecedents. He must have considered my track record over the years, that this is a competent hand he can trust to pilot the affairs of the state based on all the experience I've had.
All right. Your time is up, but I'm still going to follow up. And you still have a minute more to, at some point when I think that a question.
More light.
A question. So the question here is whether you have a mind of your own and that you're not going to be a stooge in the government house. When people give you the mandate, I'd like you to speak within the limit of the time that you have, that if you have the mandate, that you're not going to be a stooge to the godfather. You agree that you have a godfather. Is the godfather going to determine the affairs of state? Should he be governor?
Well, I don't know what you call godfatherism. If having an experienced person, 8-year governor, as a leader, who can guide you, I don't see what is coming to do in the government house like you are saying he will be running. He won't hold the red biro. He won't hold the red pen. I'm going to be there. We can seek the advice of previous governors, not only Governor Segun, not only Governor Fayose. We can seek his advice. He was governor 13 years ago or thereafter. I can consult Governor Fayemi. I can consult Governor Niyi Adebayo and other prominent Ekiti people, not limited to politicians alone. So the idea of being a stooge is just a cheap blackmail. You know, somebody that has piloted the affairs of the party, somebody that has been a BOT member of a large party like PDP, calling him a stooge would be it will be very insulting on my person. But I want to tell you, I want to assure you, if seeking advice from experienced people makes you a stooge, let it be.
Yeah, they're worried that most of the times it's Mr. Fayose that has been speaking at your campaigns. But
well,
let me go to...
thank God he's not the one speaking here today.
That's good. That's why we are having here, so that you can convince the voters. Let me go to the former governor, Segun Oni. How do you justify your defection? You've been described as a notorious defector from one political party to the other. You rise to the very top in political parties, but you jump ship at some point, and your opponent seems to have used that against you in the past days. It's been described as desperation.
It is not desperation. I do not like cheating. I don't cheat. And I don't like people to cheat. And if I see a party that has no respect for its own rules, I see it as not my type of party. I contested the PDP primaries, and it was supposed to be a secret ballot, and the world saw how it became open to the extent that one man was being shown every ballot. I believe the party, if it meant business, should have said no. I believe the party, if it aspires to rule Nigeria and put confidence in people, would have said no. I detest cheating, and I don't collaborate with cheats.
All right, thank you so much. We just have one more response before we go on our first break, and I'd like to get Mr. Ajayi's response. Mr. Ajayi, you both said to voters that you created a budget. You spoke as how much you worked in government, and recently you've been speaking against the same crop of your friends whom you worked with, and some people have described that as disloyal. How do you explain this to your voters whom you think, it's just convenient now that you describe those who were your friends, but because you are now in another party, they have now become enemies or bad people?
Thank you very much. First of all, I'm not a disloyal person. I define loyalty as being true to a cause, not to a person. Okay? I have the highest respect for people who share commitment to a good cause. So you can always expect to hear the truth from me. You can always expect me to be objective. I don't attack persons, I deal with issues. So when I refer to being the one to have developed the budget of Ekiti State, in the first 12 months of serving in that administration, I worked hard. Many times I stay in the office till 5 a.m. with the civil servants in making sure that for the first time in the history of Ekiti, the budget of Ekiti was ready before the year of its operation. So by December 2012, the budget of Ekiti was signed, sealed, and delivered for 2013. And that is a lot of work. So I'm not disloyal to anybody, but you have to be on the same page with me.
And it's a very good time for us to take a break. We're being joined by the candidate of the ADP, Mrs. Elebute Hale. You're coming late, but we will take a break. And when we come back, we have opportunity for reporters. You may want to ask questions to your fellow contestants on the stage tonight. We'll take a break, everyone. And when we come back, we hear more about the fitness of the candidates who have taken to the stage tonight. How fit are they for office? Of course, economy issues will get our attention also when we return. Stay with us. We'll be right back. On the Ekiti State Governorship Election 2022, don't forget that you can join the conversation. We're streaming online on all our platforms, and of course, some of the television and radio stations locally are also broadcasting, as well as on Channels Television. You can follow the conversation using the hashtag Ekiti Debate. Let's continue the conversation. 6 candidates have been shortlisted for this debate, but 5 have arrived. We have now Mrs. Elebute Hale. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Yeah. So, I don't know if you have reporters and questions on fitness for office before we move into, if you do have, maybe I should come to you, Ms. Elebute. All right. You have a minute for these. You are in the PDP as a staunch supporter of a governorship aspirant. After the primary of PDP, you suddenly left to get a ticket of the ADP. Is this an accidental ambition and not born out of genuine interest?
I quickly want to apologize for coming in late. We had our flag off yesterday, and a supposed be protective officer intentionally detonated 2 explosives that got hundreds of people wounded. That is why I'm here late. I'm just from the hospital to see that people are okay. I will tell you that at every point in time in one's life, you are bound to take critical decisions that you feel that will be in the genuine interest of the general public. The moment you take that decision, irrespective of which party, as long as that decision affects the development of the people that you are supposed to serve, I think it's okay, and that's exactly what I did. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Elebute. So before we move into other areas, is there anyone who wants to ask anyone questions and reporters? If there's none, so we can move ahead. We go to the issues of economy. And I'll begin, of course, with the ADC candidate, Dr. Oluyede. Ekiti State has been rated as one of the states with the worst fiscal sustainability index. The state's 2020 IGR of 8.72 billion is only 1.98% higher than 2019 IGR of 8.55 billion, and it represents only 2,345 IGR per capita. On the other hand, the total debt of 156.2 billion at the end of 2021, which amounts to 42,186 naira per capita, represents about 26% increase when it compared with the total debt of 128.88 billion in 2020. In an era of dwindling federal allocation and increasing state responsibilities, what is your plan to improve the state's lean IGR and reduce its high debt burden? You have a minute and a half.
Well, that is actually the sad situation Ekiti is, and that's what I've been talking about since I've been running from 2015. We can't just pretend that there is money somewhere that we are going to keep on spending, and it's not enough. Now, what do? We need to actually shrink government. I'm not saying shrink civil service. We need to shrink government. The cost of running government in Ekiti is actually too much. We have to cut our costs and free money for investment. Now, we, as a state, doesn't seem to be ready for investors. Our civil service mindset is not prepared to allow investors to come in. We are not investor-friendly as it is, but we need to change that. The civil service has to know that they're a partner of the government, of the governor, to bring in investors, in making sure that there is access to factors that will quicken this. For instance, how do we process CFOs? How do we give access to these investors to have land and other things? We have to design a tax cut system that will allow them to be able to operate for a few years and without any tax burden. Then there are people that are called emotional investors in Ekiti. People who are of Ekiti origin, who have money, who are able to invest in Ekiti, not because they are looking at the indices that we have, which are actually very negative, but are looking at it as, let me invest in my home state so that things can gear up. And those are people in diaspora. I am one of them. And I know what we talk about when we discuss. We're ready to come on. We're ready to invest in Ekiti, but we need a partner governor and a partner civil service that will open the door for us, make sure that we are safe, and make sure that they are ready for us. I think that's the way to go.
All right, thank you. Ms. Hale, the same question, what is your plan to improve the state's lean IGR and reduce its high debt burden? I've given a background on the indices that are available.
Thank you so much. I'm going to start by introducing myself once again. I am Elebute Josephine Kemi Hale, the first female gubernatorial candidate under the platform of ADP, Action Democratic Party in Ekiti State. I am the first candidate that had a very robust manifesto for Ekiti people. And I will tell you, one of my highlights is to increase the IGR in Ekiti State. And I have written it out in my manifesto that I am going to be the first candidate in Ekiti State that will have what we call industrial and business district. I am going to have industry around Ekiti State. I am going to help agriculturalists produce their product in Naira and export it in dollar. And I am not just saying that. I am a practical person. I have a farm in Ekiti State that was duly investigated before I started it by a group of investors from Israel. They are called the Kibbutz people. They came in, I planted I planted cocoa, and I also have plantain plantation. I'm going to build the IGR around a lot of items. The health system, the agricultural system, the improvement in infrastructure, the security, the education, empowerment and entrepreneurship. Here I'll be able to increase our IGR. And how do I do it? I have noticed that there is no economy that can strive without proper infrastructure. And I've started one of it. We are going to have an enabling environment for all investors to strive in. We are going to be having good light in Ekiti State. I'm already planning of having what we call solar plants in Ekiti State. Solar plants where that will attract investors to come in wherever they need light to do their business, electricity to do their business. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The PDP candidate, same question. The IGR, what are you going to do about it in the face of the debt burden?
Basically, in Ekiti today, I think we are depending on payee, sawmill, and all these filling stations to generate IGR. We will create a database to ensure that we know the businesses operating in Ekiti, such that we'll be able to have reasonable tax and not a burden on some sectors. Most importantly, we intend to boost the economy of Ekiti State from the agricultural sector. That will create employment. And by the time we are able to invest in, like I was trying to say the other time, in the rice, the cassava, the maize, we will be able to invite people to come and have cottage industries in Ekiti State, through which we can generate more resources, funds, and through which we can also create employment. And I want to assure you, the most important thing is to have a stable security in Ekiti State. Investors will not come if we are not able to secure lives and properties. It's going to be the first thing that will enable people, that will entice people to Ekiti State to come and invest. We will invite people to invest in the rice sector, in the cassava sector. Industries will spring up. We will start having rice, gari, like you have gari, rice, and all that here and there. Those are the areas where we can boost our economy. And I want to tell you, the database will go a long way to ensure that nobody evades tax in Ekiti State. And it's the only way we can defray all this debt incurred over the years. And from experience, I'm aware of the fact that unless and except we put security in place, we will get retarded. We might not be able to achieve all these things. So I'm prioritizing security to ensure that we are able to increase on our IGR.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah. The same question, Engineer Shagwani. How do you hope to improve IGR in the face of the debt burden and all of the negative indices confronting the state?
First, we will introduce new revenue lines. We are bringing in revenue out of security situation. And I can tell you, if we do, it will surprise people the potentials of this. We are also going to ensure that investments that we had projected before that we're not able to realize because we left suddenly in the area of green fuel become live. We want to make Ekiti the capital, the Africa capital of green fuel. It is doable. We have raw materials. We can produce enough cassava, and together with our neighbors, we have very, very good soil for sweet sorghum. So we will generate a lot from green fuel. We also must realize the fact that no matter what you generate, how you manage it is very important. And we will manage and husband the resources of this state well. Leakages will be blocked. We don't steal. We will not allow anybody to steal. And we'll put the controls in place to ensure that the economy will be in safe hands. So, debt burden we will reduce. It won't be wiped off overnight, but I can tell you we will reduce substantially the debt burden. Discipline is the name of the game. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Ajayi, it's your time. Same question.
Thank you very much. First of all, I think one of the major problems we have, I was former commissioner for budget, so I understand the nature of the finances of the state. We've never really done anything to support the private sector in Ekiti. They only know the relevance of government when it's time to collect taxes. We're going to do everything possible to make our private sector vibrant, prosperous, so that tax revenue to government can also increase. The prosperity of private sector is the prosperity of government. So private sector is a top priority area for me. Bringing in investors, as an actuary, as a global person, I have the capacity and the profile to attract investors into Ekiti. We are no longer going to use debt capital to develop Ekiti. We are going to use private equity, henceforth, to develop Ekiti. And we're going to collaborate with our diasporans who have vast resources to partner with government in developing the private sector. Also, there's a low-hanging fruit in Ekiti that no past government has ever realized. No past government, I repeat, and that is in tourism. I have plans to bring 5 million people to Ekiti in a year. I have plans for them to spend at least 2 days in Ekiti. I have plans for them to spend at least 25,000 a day. 25,000 times 2, that's 50,000. Times 5 million people. That will give you 250 billion in 1 year in Ekiti. If only 15% of that goes towards IGR of government, that is 37.5 billion revenue coming into the government. And that means the other 212.5 billion will go to the private sector. So in developing the economy of Ekiti, we need to emphasize the private sector. And I plan to be the governor that will make that happen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ajayi. The next question is related, on the economy too. And this, you have a minute to speak about it. Now, I'll begin with Dr. Oluyede. Nigeria has been described as the poverty capital of the world. The Nigerian Bureau of Statistics show that over 1 million persons in Ekiti State are multidimensionally poor. The life expectancy of at birth in Ekiti State is 52 years, and the gross national income is only $1.89 billion. If elected as the governor of Ekiti State, what will you do to lift the over 1 million persons in Ekiti out of poverty? 1 minute.
Well, the truth about Ekiti at present is that we have a mindset of poverty. We're not really as poor as we think we are, but we want to hold on to poverty. And because we have a mindset that if you don't take a salaried job from the government, then you do not have a purpose. I was speaking to Okada riders one day, and I realized that some of them make as much as 5,000 naira per day, and they work for about 24 days a month. It means they generate about 120,000 naira every month, but they still consider themselves poor. The first thing to do is to make sure that we take our minds off being poor and realizing that to become wealthy is an active process, and you really need to work at it. And trying to be a salaried person is not a way to wealth. We need to actively make ourselves wealthy, and that's what I'm going to push as the governor of Ekiti.
Thank you so much. Ms. Celebrity Ali, your time.
Thank you so much. I will tell you that this question is part of my rebuild agenda. I have 3 agendas for Ekiti State: the reclaim agenda, the rebuild agenda, and the return agenda. Under my rebuild agenda, which has about 7 bullet points or acronyms, I call it IC. The H for health, A for agriculture, I for infrastructure, S for security, E for education, the other E for entrepreneur and employment. I am going to do something around that to ensure that I employ about 50,000 people through entrepreneurship. How do I do that? In my first 100 days in office, I promised Ekiti people that I'm going to take 10 youths from off the road, irrespective of your career, hairdresser, whatever you do. We are going to take you for international vocational training. You come back to Ekiti, you use that training and empower the people again. Thereby, we create employment for people and take them off the road. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kalawale, your time starts now.
As the governor of Ekiti State, I want to revive the agricultural settlements of the past and ensure that with stimulus input to the farmers, businesses, the government will encourage them to concentrate more and encourage our youth, who are mainly the majority of people on the street, and our women. We encourage them to go into farming, because I've told you that my policy is going to, the economy of the state is going to be taken to the next level through the agricultural sector. So we will encourage them and ensure that they perform optimally, give them microcredits, and ensure that their products are well packaged for export. Like in the agricultural sector, we want to use Okeako up in the Kole area to encourage livestock farming. And with the large expanse of green vegetation there, more people will go into such farming and will be able to export all these things to other states.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Klawale. Engineer Oni.
Yeah, poverty is not as far as we think it is. One of the biggest species of it is post-retirement poverty. When you retire people and they don't even know when they can get their entitlements. When I was there the last time, we tackled post-retirement poverty by ensuring that all retirees will get their gratuities on time. And from getting gratuities on time, a lot of them invested. Some invested in housing, some invested in other forms of production. That is one area we must never forget. Then we'll open the investment door. We are going to ensure that people get productive by having access to credit to establish small and medium enterprises.
Thank you so much. Mr. Ajayi.
Very much. There's something I call the politics of poverty, which I've come to observe since I came back to Nigeria. That much of poverty in Nigeria, and in Ekiti for that matter, has to do with leadership. In many ways, our political leaders actually prefer our people to remain poor, so that they are vulnerable, so that they can be manipulated, so that they can be oppressed. I plan to economically empower the people so that they can gain a voice, so that they can demand more accountability from our leaders. I intend to facilitate private sector jobs, because lack of economic income is part of why governance is very poor. And I'm going to train and retrain. I'm going to expose our people to options they have, career options, so that they can be the best that they can be. And I'm going to bring back the glory of agriculture. Ekiti has not always been poor. We were sent to school with revenue from cocoa, so we will bring that back.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Ajayi. We're due for another break. But when we come back, pensioners are talking in Ekiti State. They're worried about their gratuities and emoluments. What are your plans for these pensioners? And of course, there are hundreds of people who are unemployed in Ekiti State. They're asking the questions, where are the jobs? We'll take a break. And when we come back, the candidates will be speaking about these issues. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us right here on Ekiti State Governorship Debate 2022. We have the last candidate who has not been on the stage, the candidate of the APC, Mr. Biodun Oyebanji, who has since joined us. It's coming late. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much. Apologies for coming late. I had a flight disruption. I'm sorry for that.
All right. Let's go into the issue of jobs. Now, I'll go back to the statistics available, especially the ones provided by the NBS. Official statistics show that Ekiti State is one of the states with very high rates of unemployment, which according to the NBS is estimated at 32.21%. The high unemployment rate in Ekiti State, which more than doubles the average unemployment in Osun, which is 11.65% in Ogun, in Ondo, and Oyo, is raising a lot of concern as youth unemployment in Ekiti State is estimated at about 51.23%. If elected, Dr. Oluyede, on June 18 as the governor of Ekiti State, what will you do to tackle unemployment? How many jobs will you create per annum? And how do you intend to create these jobs? You have a minute.
Well, the truth about this fact, one thing that is different between all of these states is that in Osun State, Ogun State, Oyo State, more youths are actually involved in agriculture willingly, and they see it as business. But unfortunately in Ekiti, due to our history and the lack of historical support from the government, we see agriculture as a sort of punishment. The government has to encourage people to go back into farming, but not farming as subsistence. That is the most available natural resource that we have. We have the people, we have the land. If you drive around Ekiti today, most of the arable land are not actually cultivated. We need to encourage our people to go back there, especially the young people, provide support for them in terms of credit, provide the science of entrepreneurship out of agriculture to them, and then support them for a brief period of time when they are not making money. And that's it. We need to move people into agriculture. That will bring down our unemployment, provide money, and then kickstart from there.
Thank you, Dr. Oluyede. Ms. Elebute, if you'd like to mention, I was asking, if elected on 18th of June as the governor of Ekiti State, what will you do to tackle unemployment? How many jobs will you create per annum? And how do you intend to create these jobs?
Thank you so much. I mentioned it in the last question you asked me. I told you that I am going to bring the youth out of the road. Youth who are supposed to be gainfully employed, but they don't have any means of getting it. Under my rebuild agenda, the 6th point is employment and entrepreneurship. I am already planning that at my first 100 days in the office, I'm going to take 10 youths from each local government, take them on what we call international vocational trainings. They will go, a tailor will go to Turkey to learn, a shoemaker will go to Italy to learn. When they come back, around my industrialization and business history that I'm going to create, they come back and impart that knowledge in Ekiti people. We are going to be creating 50,000 employment through entrepreneurship. And I'm going to ensure that I make agriculture lucrative, whereby people who are agriculturists, students, will be able to want to go into agriculture, and we are going to give them grants and support that is needed. We are going to move Ekiti from subsistence farming to mechanized farming.
Thank you. Mr. Oyebanji, a minute. Same question. How many? The people of Ekiti State want to know how many jobs you want to create per annum and how you want to create these jobs.
Well, once again, apologies for coming late. The world has gone digital. Presently, the government is laying fiber optic cables across the states. This is to encourage our youth to stay in the confines of their homes and transact legitimate businesses. Also, we are going to ensure that we create what we call enterprise development funds. This will support startup capitals, provide capital for the youth to engage in businesses and vocations. But what is more important is to also ensure that there's value addition and the economy is made to be productive. What creates jobs and what creates wealth is productivity and value addition. Agric is good, but if agric is not taken beyond the level of subsistence to productivity and value addition, it will just remain at that level. So we will support agric, but what is important for us is in the value addition that we can create jobs and create wealth for the people. And we reckon that in 1 year, we should be able to create close to 50,000 jobs through all these channels. Because a lot of jobs can be created on net, online, through technology, and by giving them access to fiber cables and electricity. Thank you.
Mr. Kalawale.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I'm going to create an enabling environment for our youths and women to go into farming. Apart from that, we intend to create technology and information hub in Ekiti State, whereby the youth can take into various aspects of information technology, be whoever they want to be, and we will encourage them, do the monitoring, the mentoring for them, and through graduation, we intend to set them up, support them with funds, allow them to establish such that they will be on their own to generate funds. They will be resourceful on their own. The over-dependent on government will be taken off the government, and everybody will be on his own to be a family man, to be fully employed, and such that you are not dependent on anybody to survive. We must have taken care of crimes on the street. We must have taken care of Yahoo, so that by the time you graduated, the government will support you with whatever you need to be on your own. I spoke extensively about agriculture. We intend to support them, create an enabling environment, create adequate security for them to survive and to do what the Lord will do.
Thank you so much. Ekiti's people want to know in specific how many jobs you hope to create per annum, because there is an unemployment rate that is worrisome. So I'm actually going to Engineer Oni, because we have a lot of areas that we have not touched. So if you like to touch on specifics, how many jobs are you hoping to create and how?
Well, in our first year, we must create at least 100,000 jobs. We will go into livestock and fisheries, where we know there is a ready market, and livestock and fisheries can take in so much. We had a fisheries program when I was governor before, and it succeeded so much, because for every entrepreneur you graduate, it's a minimum of 5 jobs for people who work with them. We are also going to look at other areas like technology. Technology is a big boom, and once we are able to support our people to startups, we will get them to engage themselves and profitable too. We don't have to sweat too much before we can create jobs.
Thank you so much, Governor Oni. Your time, Mr. Ajayi, is now. How many jobs per annum and how?
Well, I'm not going to give you a number, because there's a lot of steps that we have to go through. But one of the lowest hanging fruits in Ekiti is in the tourism industry. We're going to create massive jobs for our young people in the tourism area, and also in moving our agriculture from production to processing. We're going to create a lot of jobs for our young people. But as far back as 2013, one area that I've identified to take Ekiti forward is in the knowledge-based industry. So we're going to stimulate a lot of jobs in ICT, in financial technology. We're going to stimulate a lot of jobs in the health sector for our young people. But also, I've come to realize, when I was commissioner here, that before you can successfully empower our young people, you also need to reorient their minds. Because after several decades of bad leadership, our young people need to be revived in order to be able to self-develop and key into new development agenda.
All right. So we'll go into we're looking at the issue of the social lives of the people of Ekiti State, and they want to know how you can make it better. So we're going into the area of pensions. I'll begin this time around from my left to my right. In the area of pensions, gratuities owed to pensioners is in the region of 10 billion naira. And this is stemming from several years, from the period of the PDP to the APC. And these governments have the backlog to settle. Now, the question is, how would you do this? They're complaining, they want this to be settled. What plan do you have to settle the issue of pensioners and their gratuities? 1 minute, please.
Thank you. Well, I'm an actuary. We actuaries, our expertise is in pensions. So I'm the only one qualified by education, experience, and training to deal with pension problems in Ekiti. So the pensioners will do well with me as governor, because one of the major problems right now is that our pension obligations are paid out of current budget, which is a no-no. When you talk about public pensions, you actually need to create a fund in order to deal with those issues. And I've in fact advised this current government on how to convert these liabilities into assets. As an actuary, I know how to convert those liabilities into assets for our pensioners. So as an actuary, I am prepared to make sure that the problems of our pensions are alleviated from when I become governor, in dealing with those issues that make sure that our pensioners' welfare are not hinged on current budget. Plus, in fulfilling any obligation, we must be able to create wealth. And that's why, as an actuary, I plan to also create massive wealth in Ekiti to allow the government to fulfill its obligations, including to civil servants' salaries.
Engineer Shegoni, from your government days in when you were in government up until now, pensioners have been old. So should you become governor, what would you be saying to those people you were not able to satisfy by paying their gratuity?
Let me make a correction there. Pensioners were not old in my time. I paid arrears of gratuities and pension right from old Ondo State, 1994, and I ensured that all the arrears were wiped up by 31st of December 2007. You can check that with everybody. And from then on, when you retire from the service of Ekiti State, you get your gratuity in less than 3 months. They will call you. Your check is ready. Everybody in this state knows that. We can do it. It's a matter of good financial planning. It's a matter of great financial planning. We can do it. But what we'll do with arrears first is to isolate the arrears. Then go on with current and now work backwards to raise whatever we need to be able to meet up the arrears. But it's something we can do.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Kalawale?
Yeah, the PDP government...
in the range of 10 billion. How would you have started?
Well, it's... unfortunately, the situation is not what it used to be when my brother was governor. We all know how critical the situation is today. But the PDP government is committed. I will ensure that we defray the backlog within a period of 4 years. We will give it priority. We will look into the books and involve experts on how we will be able to do it instrumentally. Within 4 years of our tenure, we must have been able to defray them without necessarily injuring the psyche, injuring the psyche of the pensioners. A situation where you want to take a certain percentage off and pay the rest will not be acceptable to us. We will ensure that we look into the books instrumentally. We will defray, by the grace of God, defray all the outstanding within the period of 4 years.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kalawale. Mr. Oyebanji, about 10 billion of old pensions and gratuities. What would you do should you become governor?
Well, we need to make a distinction between pension and gratuity. Pension is what retiree gets at the end of every month. And since the inception of administration, 2018 till now, we pay pensioners the same day we pay civil servants in the states. But gratuity is the big elephant in the room. And through creative financial management and interaction with financial institutions, 10 billion is just a number, and I don't think it's something that will be too difficult to creatively find a way of paying. But the truth is that that obligation cannot be met from the current recurrent expenditure of the state. So one must think out of the box to ensure that we engage experts and also peer review states that are doing well in pension management so that we can defray that, in gratuity management so that we can defray that. But as pension is concerned, we pay pensioners the same day we pay civil servants in Ekiti State. So creatively, we deal with the 10 billion gratuity, and then pension will continue to pay pension the same way we be paying them.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Yabanji. Mrs. Sahale.
Thank you so much. I want to sincerely apologize on behalf of the past and present government for depriving our parents of their entitlements. If nobody is doing anybody a favor by paying pensions and gratuity, please stop making it looking like you are doing them a favor. I was a civil servant in January, and I think our parents need to be re-sensitized. Please, parents who are due for pensions, 3 months before your retirement, start processing it. What I'm going to do differently is that you don't need to go and rush and queue for what you are due for. The moment you process your document, you are going to be getting your alert immediately as you are leaving office. That is what I am going to do for Ekiti pensioners. Your money has been accumulated. It's taken from your salary monthly, and it's a accrued sum that's supposed to be giving you. Some of these governments, our fathers here, they just put it in fixed deposit account, and they are making money, huge sum of money from it monthly. So I am going to ensure, as a mother, as the only female gubernatorial candidate, that all pensions and gratuity are paid as at when due, without my parents lining up to get it. Thank you.
Dr. Oluyede.
Well, it's unfortunate that for 12 years now we haven't paid gratuity to most people. But we are all running away from the fact that we are not managing our pensions and gratuities properly. We don't have a setup other than taking the monies that we need to pay these people out of our recurrent expenditure. That is wrong. We should have a properly managed pension fund that is managed as an investment. Nobody should retire and wait years before they get their gratuity. We will correct that, set up a proper pension fund that will manage these people's pension. And as far as I'm concerned, what we should do is everybody should receive their pension every day, every month like a salary. And then we will have to find money to pay all the arrears that are owed these people. But that will now depend on a lot of things. We need to generate funds. We have to create wealth. But we would dedicate a fraction of whatever we earn now, either as part of our IGR or part of whatever we receive, wherever we receive it from, to start paying arrears as a commitment to those people who have served the government, and those arrears must be cleared before the end of 2 years. That will be a target that I will look at.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Now, we'll take another break. But when we come back, the issue of price of food in Ekiti State is getting higher, and the people are talking about it. What will these candidates do differently? Should they be employed as the next governor of Ekiti State? Stay with us. We'll be right back. State government and monarchs even had had to meet with traders at different times on the alarming development. Not much of price regulation has been seen. Let me give a little background to that. Ekiti State is known as an agrarian state and one of the top producers of food in the southwestern region of Nigeria. However, inflation data shows that food inflation in Ekiti is 19.14%, while other agrarian states such as Sokoto, Anambra, and Oyo recorded relatively lower rates of 14.9%, 16.68%, and 16.69%, respectively. So the question, and I'll begin with you, Dr. Oluyede. If elected as governor of Ekiti State, what would you do to tame this very high food inflation and guaranteed food security in Ekiti State? The people want specifics. 1 minute.
Unfortunately, Ekiti is like we have water all around, but nothing to drink. We are wasteful. because most of our produce is actually wasted in the agricultural sector because we don't have roads to actually bring them out. Most of our farmsteads do not have accessible roads to bring these things out. Then we do not have any storage system at all. So everything we produce has to be sold or eaten. And then we go through cycles of we have too many and then we have too little. So the government will invest in building roads that will access all these agricultural areas. Most of our farm areas in Bonyi, Ekiti, actually all the local governments do not have accessible roads at all. I do not see any kind of storage system at all anywhere. Most agriculturally safe countries in the world only eat what they produced years ago because they have ability to store it. We have to have a storage system in silos, in knowing how to store our food safely and releasing them to the market at a steady rate.
Mrs. Halley.
Thank you so much. That is still one of my reviewed agenda. The high C, the A is agriculture. Like I said, the first thing I'm going to do is to make agriculture lucrative. Most of the people that went out, that even studied agriculture, they could not practice because they feel that it's a profession for the poor. We are going to resensitize our people. I was making analysis the other time. How will somebody want to buy tomato of 100 naira? And you will transport to and fro to the market, 200 naira to go, 200 naira to come back. That is pathetic. In those days when I was growing up, we were taught in the primary school how we can farm, what we are going to eat. So we are going to be sensitizing the people on how you can produce what you are going to eat before you even produce for the large society. We are going to be encouraging our agriculturists. I've visited some villages, Semidire, they are so, the Kajola farms, and I see that they have peculiar problems of how they can manage their product. Some of them will say, we don't have chemicals to do our farming. We are going to be giving a lot of loans to our farmers to be able to produce for the masses what they will eat and what the masses will be able to eat and explore. And I said, I am going to move agriculture from subsistence farming to mechanized farming, producing in Naira and exporting in dollar. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Mr. Yebanji, food prices in your neighboring states, prices are lower. Why is it higher in Ekiti State? What would you do to bring the price of staple food down?
When demand outstrips supply, there is inflation. We find ourselves in this situation because our farmers are still at the level of subsistence farming. So what they are producing is not even enough to feed the states because population keeps increasing every day. We will also be tough. We will also be tough on price gouging because I know that the little that is being produced, the role of middlemen and middlewomen has to be. We have to be tough on that. We have to ensure that we put a price mechanism in place to make sure that what they are selling here is at par with our neighboring states. But to do that, we must look into what is being produced, the quality of what is being produced, the tonnage per acreage. So we must give them good seeds that we give very high yield per acreage. We must give them equipment extension service and also ensure that we protect the consumers from price volatility through gouging. Gouging is the main cause of inflation in the state.
Thank you so much. Mr. Kalawale.
Yeah, we intend to tackle that through massive investment in agriculture and agric-related industries, such that we invest massively in the cultivation of cassava and other related products like maize and rice. Like the cassava, if we are able to do it massively, the waste product from it will be used to create food, to make food available for the livestock farming that we want to establish in Okeako, in Ikole local government, where we have large vegetation. And with the massive investment in livestock, we'll be able to export that to neighboring states, like I said earlier. So other agri-related industries will be able to come up with enough food, and as an intervention, immediate intervention, we intend to create palliative, to make palliative available for the good people of Ekiti State, the workers and the masses, such that in the interim, we will solve the hunger problem.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Engineer Shagwani, the prices of food is higher in your state compared to neighboring states. What would you do to bring that down?
First, we have to look at waste. Output minus waste is net output. We set up before a buyer of last resort, so that if there are things that are produced in excess, they can be mopped up and bought by government, and government can then resell. We must go back to that. Logistics. When you produce, you have to transport. If the access to the farmsteads are not right, you will spend a lot more on transportation, and that will bring up the prices. So we have to go back to the rural access program that we used to have, that made sure that most of these farmsteads were easily accessible, and products can be evacuated to the market readily. I believe with ease of transportation and increase in output, reduction in waste, we'll begin to talk.
All right. Thank you so much. Mr. Ajayi.
Thank you. For far too long, Ekiti has ignored the farmers, and thereby making farming look like the profession of the poor. We need to bring back the glory of agriculture into Ekiti by addressing issues that will make our farmers more productive, by addressing issues that minimize waste in the system, by making sure that we start to mechanize rather than using those rudimentary equipment of the past. For example, Ekiti has the highest cassava yield in the whole Nigeria, 22,000 tons per acre. National average is only 10,000. You find cassava in a lot of industrial products, like industrial starch. But in Ekiti, most of our cassava is used for gari because we could not control how to increase the shelf life of our cassava. By God's grace, I'm going to bring technology into Ekiti that will increase the shelf life of our cassava so that they turn into cassava cakes and get into industrial starch, get into spaghetti, get into those things that will improve the value of cassava to Ekiti.
Right. Thank you so much. Now, we're going to security now, and we're going to spend some good time on that area, because I think that is a very major issue that anyone who wants to be governor needs to take on. Now, let me begin by asking, or bringing this scenario. There is a recent incident in your neighboring Ondo state, where attackers a few days ago attacked worshippers at a Catholic church. The federal government had come out to say that that is the handiwork of a terrorist group known as ISWAP. Ondo State is a neighboring state. With that sort of information, should he be elected governor of Ekiti State, what would you do, Dr. Oluyede? 1 minute.
Well, the issue of security, as it is in Nigeria, is a very sensitive issue. But it is a very serious issue. Now we have a set of internationally connected terrorists that have invaded through up to the south. It has to involve the federal government. The federal government has to be serious about what they are doing, honest about it. But at the same time, your security is your security. The people have to be involved in it. they have to be more vigilant, and we will encourage that. We have to have community policing, even if they are not armed, but at least information will be there. We have to change our rules of allowing people to roam about our state and be serious about it. And then I think it is time that we stand up as the leaders of our community. I'm not going to let anybody just say, look, you can do whatever you want to do in Ekiti. There will be laws that will say, this is where you walk, this is when you walk, and you're out of rule if you don't do that. Then I have to encourage the community to be involved with it. And then the federal government has to be honest with what is happening. If we have a terrorist group in Ekiti or in my state, then they have to say, this is what we are going to do about it. Or we have to do something about it ourselves.
Mrs. Hale.
Thank you so much. I sincerely sympathize with the Ondo State government on what happened a few days ago. And I pray that the family receive peace and love. And I will tell you again that that is one of my agendas. The IC agenda under the rebuild, the reclaim, and the rebuild. S is security. And I have 3 major ways of tackling security in Ekiti State. I call the long term, the medium term, and the short term. But let me quickly say something and digress a little from all of it. I think we need to be practical in Ekiti State. What happened yesterday at our flag off is really pathetic, that a police officer who is supposed to be a protector detonated explosive on the people and caused a lot of people. Thank God that there was no loss of life. I think our officers need to be sincere these days. They need to be sincere. They need to know that call to protection is a call to humanitarian service. And they need to do it with all sincerity of heart and sincerity of purpose. On the issue of security, you're going to give me a little bit more time. On this issue of security, I have the long term, the medium term, and the short term. The short term is to engage the youth who are roaming about the streets without job. Re-engage them into the society and make them relevant. Then the medium term is to sensitize our personnel, our police, paramilitary, and military, and equip them with all the necessary gadgets that they need and the support. The long term is to ensure that a lot of people get involved, like the Amotekuns. You also equip them and resensitize the society
Your time
on
is
the
up,
need
madam.
to protect the people.
Mr. Oyebanji, with the story of what happened in Ondo State, and there's a linkage to terrorist organization ISWAP, should he be elected governor? What would you do?
Well, already there's a strategy that is working in Ekiti State now, and it's what we call proactive security strategy. This presupposes that you disrupt their operation at the planning stage. You don't wait for them to strike before you apprehend them through the use of appropriate technology. And Ekiti will bear with me that in the past 3 months, security in the state has improved, because we are now, we've translated to technology to ensure that we disrupt their operations at the planning stage. Because the problem is, once they strike, you have to play catch up. So you stop them from striking, but if they strike also, we must enable the security architectures to respond fastly. The rate of response presently is unacceptable, so we must make them to respond immediately. For those that will not be able to track at the point of planning. Also, the quality of intelligence is very important, and interagency collaboration among the security operatives. We will involve our traditional rulers in intelligence gathering, and we turn this intelligence over to the former security operatives. Thank you.
Mr. Kalawale.
Yeah. Without going far to Ondo State, unfortunately, here in Ekiti, the sacred palaces, the sacred stool of our traditional rulers has been demystified by kidnappers and all that. It's not only sad, but very pathetic, because we left a government in 2018 where we had zero tolerance to kidnapping, to all these vices. I was part of that government,
And I want to assure you that we will develop on what we used to do then, that the Miyetti Allah people came to Ekiti to consult Governor Peter Ayodele Fayose, or now he was able to maintain peace in Ekiti. We will develop on that. The miscreants, the kidnappers live within us. So we will involve the local hunters, the vigilantes, the law enforcement agents, and set in place appropriate technology. Get proactive about the whole thing and ensure that we are able to protect free movement of our people from Efalaye to Ikole without the fear of being kidnapped on the way.
Thank you so much. Engineer Oni.
The last time we set up a panic alert system. But unfortunately, after it was tested, it wasn't used. We will begin with that. If it is still intact, uncannibalized, we will ensure that technology aids us to report crime. Of course, we will fly drones across the state for multiple purposes. We will deliver drugs with drones, and those drones will be fitted with cameras, so that if they are overflying any part, the security people will take record of what they can see. We must be ready to confront the security issue head-on, and we are going to do multi-level security and multi-level policing. We will do it.
Thank you so much. Mr. Ajayi.
Security is every man's business. You need everybody involved in detecting security issues before they strike. In countries where security is most observable, like Israel, children as young as age 3 are already sensitized to detecting suspicious behavior and activities and being able to report it. So the intelligence system is very, very important. The surveillance system is going to be important. The infrastructure required to also respond rapidly to security issues are also very important. And then collaboration with neighboring states, collaboration with federal government to make sure Ekiti people are safe, to make sure that Ekiti is a place that is secure for our investors, our tourists, our workers, our residents are going to be very, very key. I've been resident of Dubai, and I've seen how high security is rated there. Therefore, as governor, I'm going to invest heavily into security, because my plans can only be achieved if there's adequate security here. But remember, the security issue that we face in Ekiti is also because, as a state governor who is considered the chief security officer of the state, you often don't have control over the security agents. A police commissioner can easily harass a governor if adequate steps are not taken.
Your time is up, please. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we're still going to stay on security. And I'll make reference to what happened a few months ago and recently. A monarch sustained gunshot wound earlier this year after escaping abduction. Another monarch was abducted last year. 4 residents of the community along Ikere Road in Ekiti were abducted at the time too, and later released. Some abduction also reportedly occurred in recent weeks. Now, beginning with you, Dr. Oluyede, what would you say is the cause of these kidnappings, and how would you solve the problem? 1 minute.
Now, as my brother, Mr. Bisi Kolawole said, every crime committed involves people who live in that area. There's no way kidnappers are going to reside in an area that over the months that people will not know who they are, where they are. So there must be a little bit of collaboration with the locals when that is involved. And what can lead to that? Poverty, lack of work, no incentive from the security apparatus to prosecute. So there are a lot of issues there What we need to do as a people is to start to respect our own dignity, want to even save our society by deciding that we're not going to be involved in that. And then encourage that the local government will have to increase their surveillance, and that is part of the reasons why the local government autonomy is important. Then the surveillance has to involve technology. Where are they reporting to? Who are they reporting to? Right. But then there's going to be prosecution, right. And that is actually beyond the province of the government.
All right, your time is up. Ms. Ali.
Thank you so much. I will say it from the political point of view, security. I want to plead with the politicians to stop playing politics with people's lives. There is an Israeli adage that says that every bullet has an address. I am not saying that there are some people that are not victims of circumstance. But if you see what is happening around us these days, you will see that a lot of them have a lot of political undertones. Please, politicians, play politics with fear of God, knowing fully well that you don't need to take life that you did not create. One of the things that I'm going to do differently is to ensure there is border control, border security. We are going to be equipping our security personnel, both military and paramilitary, the Amotekuns and everyone, to ensure that they are part of the security and giving them what is due for them as at when due. We are having security, what do they call it, a particular money that is supposed to be for security is supposed to go to them. If you don't give them that amendment, how do they perform?
All right.
We are going to be equipping them and ensuring that our borders are controlled. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Oyebanji, the cause of these kidnappings and the fact that they've taken it to some of the sacred places in your state, and what is the solution?
Well, the cause or the causes, they are poverty, unemployment, that is ravaging the country. And as a governor, it's good to be tough on criminality and banditry, but it's better to be tougher on the causes, which is poverty and unemployment. You cannot, although you may not be able to rule out infiltration from neighboring states by criminal elements and criminal tendencies, but you are tougher on the causes by providing jobs, by making sure that people have access to decent living and decent life, and also strengthen our judicial system to respond to criminal issues. If it's possible to have a special court that will dispense with criminal cases swiftly and passes judgments. Because part of the issue is when you apprehend these people also, they spend 2-3 years in court, they are released back into the society, threatening those that arrested them. So these are the issues. So it's good for us to be tougher on the causes of insecurity. And like I said, it's always better for government to be proactive by disrupting their operations and their cartel.
Thank you so much. Mr. Kalawale.
Yeah, as a governor, there is need
for one to be proactive. Of course, we know that, like I said earlier, the kidnappers, the bandits are not spirits. They live within us. If we are able to create enough jobs, if we are able to take our youth off the street, it will be the kind of kidnapping we are experiencing today must have been minimized by half. Because the kidnappers these days are so sophisticated that some of them are graduates. And they come up to demand for ransom because they are not employed. Usually it's the government of People's Democratic Party that employs in Ekiti, fortunately. But when my brother, when they get there, they will lay them off. Unfortunately, these people will resort into all these forms of criminalities here and there. We will be proactive, we will re-engage the disengaged workers, we will occupy them such that they will forget all this kidnapping of our obas in their various palaces and shooting.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Engineer Oni.
Thank you very much. First, the motive is economy. they kidnap for money. And it is simple. If we have a security system that works, it will reduce. Because right now, the chance of a kidnapper going and succeeding without being busted is very high. We will ensure that there is a vigilante system that works in town and out of town that will give information and also have capacity to respond. We will ensure that the multi-level, which will begin with the vigilantes, all the Amotekуns of this world will be there and end up with the police and the military, will be able to communicate very well and review, carry out review on a quarterly basis, what has been their successes, what are their challenges, and of course...
Thank you so much, Engineer. Thank you. Mr. Ajayi.
Actually, this is a case of poverty fighting back. We've had a situation of corruption fighting back in Nigeria. Poverty is fighting back. And it's also because of failure of leadership. Economic empowerment of our citizens, of our young people, will drastically reduce the incidence of these unfortunate kidnappings. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, there's elements of local residents contributing or compromising the security of our citizens. We need a surveillance system, we need an intelligence system, we need to be able to train our people to be able to detect when they see suspicious activities and be able to report it to a control room and empower the control room to be able to respond rapidly to this. And as it was said earlier, we also need a justice system that deals drastically with these offenders as a way of dealing with issues of deterrence so that the occurrences of these things will drastically reduce.
Thank you so much. Well, we're getting to the home stretch. Should there be any questions any other candidates want to ask any other candidate? This is the time to do so. All right, Mr. Oyebanje, go ahead.
Thank you. My question is to Engineer Shegoni. Two questions, Your Excellency. During your tenure as the governor of this state, you attempted to resuscitate Ikunderi farm, but that model did not work. Governor Fayemi came, Ikunderi farm is up and running. If you are faced or confronted with the same issue, what will you do differently?
And you have a minute to respond.
I did Ikunderi, and it came back. We were at the last stage. We had already brought the cows. The equipment were already verified. We were now at the level of concluding a leasehold agreement with the people who were to run Ikunderi. The cows were there. And of course, I can say, without mincing words, that it is your government that can account for the cows. What happened to them? Because we left cows in the tent. And if the cows were there and the government had built on what we did, even if you have a magic to do it, you would not have started from scratch. As far as I'm concerned, our processes were capable of delivering, but it was terminated abruptly.
All right. Another person, Dr. Luyade.
A question actually to be addressed by both my brother Biodun and my senior brother Chief Oni. Over the last 3 days, there has been incidences of clashes and killings and shooting. I do not have any proof that it has to do with both of you, but The story in town is that both your supporters are involved. Do we have to have violence in this? Do we have to kill each other? Can't we just have a peaceful election and bring about the best out of us? All of us are eminently qualified to be the governor of this state. Can we put a suppression to that?
Yeah. So, let me allow Mr. Ebanji to go first. A minute, please.
We are committed to an incident-free election. We condemn violence in all its ramifications. What happened was unfortunate, but I'm aware that the security agencies, they've taken over the case and we are awaiting their investigation. But as a party, we will maintain decency, we'll be decorous, and we will abide with the Electoral Act and the Constitution of the Republic of Nigeria as it relates to electionary campaign and to election funding. We are not violent, but at the same time, we cannot rule out some other elements that are very desperate at getting powers. Right. But I don't want to take the sail off the investigation that is going on. We await the report of the security agencies concerning what happened yesterday.
Right. Do you have any response to that, Engineer?
Yeah, I just want to add that violence does not add value. It corrodes value. And I have told our people, do not ever go to anywhere where another party is having a meeting or a rally. In the situations that happened yesterday and day before, it was people who came, and I know they were not sent by their governorship candidate, who came to where we were. They came to where we were holding meetings with traditional rulers in Oye, in Itaji, and they were shooting. They were shooting outside. Yes, you couldn't have shot inside. They were shooting outside. And that was how the trouble started. And one of them was actually arrested. And it was put live on social media. So, all right, let us try to educate our people to shun violence.
We've evidently come to the very end of this debate, but we're going to take closing statements from everyone. But one thing that is very paramount that the people of Ekiti State want to hear is how you want to better their lives. And this 1 minute that you have is a good opportunity to tell them how you better their lives and how you hope to win the election. Let me begin with Mr. Ajayi here. 1 minute for your closing statement.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Of all the candidates, I'm the only one with decades of global exposure that has also served Ekiti for over 10 years now, combined. And I'm the only one qualified to address the issue of pensions, who also has the financial expertise to rebuild and diversify the economy of Ekiti. By God's grace, if I'm given the chance to be the governor of this state, I will make sure that there's an end to the politics of poverty. I will engage in an agenda that empowers every citizen of Ekiti to be the best they can economically.
All right. Thank you so much. Engineer Oni, 1 minute, your closing statement.
I want to say it's easy to talk. They will say talk is cheap. I have been there before, and I delivered. And the people recognize it. And I am not looking for an opportunity to mar my reputation or an opportunity to improve my reputation. We have the wherewithal. Some of our actions, if they were continued, would have lifted Ekiti so far by now. We established a world-class ophthalmological center. By now, we would have been earning great revenue, even in foreign currencies. We set up a yam conditioning factory, and we were already at the verge of starting to export yam from Q1 2011. I don't know whether the factory is still there or an empty shell now. So we have what it takes. We have shown that we have the capacity, and this thing is about...
All right. Engineer Shegoni, thank you so much.
Yeah.
The PDP candidate.
I haven't dwelled seriously on the agricultural sector. I want to assure the pensioners in Ekiti State that we will have a very open government whereby one of the pensioners, will be able to look into the books on monthly basis. I will have one of the pensioners as a special advisor on pension, such that he will be able to convince his colleagues outside how fair we are about the payment of their pensions. And the laid-off workers, I assure you, by the grace of God, the 2,000 workers that were laid off will be reabsorbed into government. The extra workers that took government to court and were giving judgment about 3 months ago, we will revise their situation and we will ensure that they are happy again. And to our people generally in Ekiti, this is a governor you are sure of seeing on a daily basis. We are on the street together.
All right. Thank you so much. Mr. Yebanji, your 1 minute, sir.
Nice.
Please go ahead.
Ekiti, no society can grow greater than the vision and the dream of the leader. I'm offering myself to lead our people to a prosperous society. I envision a state where all of us will grow together and prosper together. I'm bringing to the table 11 years of experience in the public service at the state level, 2 years at the federal level. I have the competence, the character, the emotional intelligence, and the stability to lead from the front. I'm not afraid of taking courageous, fair, and compassionate decisions. I'm going to aggregate the best brain of Ekitis all over the world to help me achieve my dream. June 18 offers another opportunity for us to continue in a trajectory of development of Ekiti State. Go out and vote for my party.
All right.
Or APC, as symbol is the broom. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Mrs. Harley, please go ahead. Go ahead, please. Please go ahead.
Ekiti, all the viewers at home, I am your daughter, the first female gubernatorial candidate under the platform of Action Democratic Party, ADP, the first woman that have, in the history of politics, that have stood firm to the end. And I promise you that there is no retreat, no surrender. That I'm standing in for all our women across Ekiti, across Nigeria. You might need to ask our men that in the last 24 years, what have they been able to do differently? What do they really forget in the government house that they don't want to go and pick? Do you really want to vote in a government of bloodshed? People that will use your children as surgery? Is that what you want? Another violence has been committed against your fellow women yesterday, where a conniver of police and with the present government violated the rights of the women. Caused a lot of injury to the people. Do you want to vote that government in?
Right.
I am pleading with you.
Thank you, sir.
I am number 4 on the ballot paper. Saturday, 18th of June is another time.
Dr.
Vote me in, and I'm going to do well.
Dr. Oluyede, your closing statement.
Ekiti people, I offer an alternative to years of carelessness, selfishness, that all the past governments have actually worked on. They have continued to make us dependent on federal allocation. They have not created any opportunity for us to create wealth. I want to assure you that I stand before you as somebody who has worked for himself, who is a self-made man, but is able to come down with passion to say we need to change our history. We need to take ourselves from seeing ourselves as poor people, but we can work it out. I believe Ekiti people can work out this problem we will create wealth. I will support the youth to employ themselves, to see themselves positively, and we need to move on from being dependent on federal allocation.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming, and I wish you the very best in the race. As a sign of sportsmanship, I'd like you to exchange pleasantries right in front of your supporters tonight, and as we look forward to a fair, good race on Saturday, the June 18th. Thank you so much, wherever you may be watching. Thank you so much to our partners. On behalf of everyone, I'm Shehu Akibale. Bye for now.